Welcome to the Pancake King, Life and Marriage on the Spectrum, your source for life and marriage on the autism spectrum. I'm your host, Forrest, and with me, Faceless, I have a guest who hasn't been on the show in a while, my beautiful wife, KG.
Hello.
She's very, very tired tonight, and I have dragged her here an hour before she's going to bed to record a little bit of a fun episode. Because sometimes it's just fun to listen to us talk. And there was a conversation that we've been having recently. Because why don't you tell the audience the show that you've been trying to show me lately?
Code Lyoko.
Now, I'm sure that as she just said that, I could almost even hear like as if millions of voices cried out in excitement
And nostalgia.
And then we're suddenly silenced by me saying that it's been really hard for me to get into it. Now, I'm a 29-year-old man. I didn't get into Code Lyoko when I was a kid. That was something I somehow missed.
It was on Cartoon Network.
Instead, I was watching shows starring absolute brats like Caillou. And this happened to be a show that I just sort of overlooked. You told me that it was it'd be right next to Samurai Jack in the time slots. Now, Samurai Jack is a show I have seen. I haven't watched all of it, but I have seen episodes of it.
Yeah.
And my dad was really into it, so he would show that to me once in a while.
Many people consider Code Lyoko one of the best Cartoon Network shows of its time.
Really? Huh. So, well, I didn't get into it. Yeah, it's like I feel trapped and cornered already. We can end it here now. I got 2 minutes under the belt, so.
I'm just saying.
So she's been trying. Trying to get me. Or she had been trying to get me into it just to kind of, I guess, if nothing else, to show me one thing that I missed. I guess it's kind of like Harry Potter, where I just missed that. And then I tried watching it and fell asleep during the first movie, so goes to show some things just feel like they get locked out. And we were talking a little bit about the types of shows that I watched as a kid, and to be honest, I didn't really honestly watch a whole lot of TV shows.
Kids TV shows
Between the ages of 9 and 12. I kind of just watched a lot of SpongeBob, which is one of the reasons why I'm as dumb today as I am.
See, that's the difference. I watched Code Lyoko, which is a smart show. You watched SpongeBob.
That's a good question. Does the number of smart shows you watch as a kid help dictate how smart you end up as an adult?
I don't know, but Mozart definitely does.
Now, I will tell you.
That's a scientific fact.
I will tell you. As someone who was a huge fan of these Series of Unfortunate Events books when I was a kid, those books were pretty intelligent. They were really smart. Not only were they incredibly written, but they had a very smart core cast.
And they had some educational topics like the water cycle.
Yes. Yes. Anything that Lemony Snicket would try to do to get you to stop reading the books. Gosh. You know what would be hilarious is if you watched 29-year-old me rereading those books. Now, that would be a sight.
Yeah. Would you still like them?
I probably would, honestly. I remember them so well. Loved the film with Jim Carrey.
Loved it too.
And the Netflix adaptation was really good with Neil Patrick Harris as Count Olaf this time. But I just sort of had that gap. You know what I mean? Like, I had that gap during those, like, younger years where some stuff just, didn't get to me. Like, it,
well,
I read more. I honestly read more than I watched TV.
How old were you in 2004?
Ooh, 2004?
You would have been 9, right?
Yeah, it would have had to be 9.
Yeah, then you missed it because it aired in 2000 from like 2004 to like 2007.
Yeah, so here's the thing. If you got to watch TV because if I got to watch TV because I asked my parents if I could, if the answer was yes, that was considered a special privilege. My parents used to remind me all the time at that age that when they would allow me to do that, that was a privilege, not a freedom at the time. So
I just got an hour.
Oh, really?
Yep.
Huh.
An hour every day.
I'm not entirely sure I was given a limit necessarily. I think well, I would have a limit on the internet, on the computer. Like, that was something that I would have limits on. And a lot of the times video games, unless my parents fell asleep on a Sunday afternoon, my brother and I would get away with like 3 hours straight of Battlefront 2. So this is a lot of like 90s and 2000s nostalgia I'm just spouting here. Oh, another thing that was sort of another thing that I would be watching in between the ages of like 9 and 12 was Mystery Science Theater 3000 or old Godzilla movies or Japanese kaiju movies. That's the type of stuff that I watched. During the time when when you would think I'd be watching something like Code Lyoko, I was watching Godzilla. So so like, yeah, trying to get into Code Lyoko now, that's really, really hard.
Yeah, I think it's a combination of your impossibly high standards and the fact that you had no childhood.
You say I have no childhood, but clearly I did, because I'm definitely a child today. There, you did it better than me. See, I'm like a child. I did the single clap, and you, as an adult, did the... You knew how to do it right, and I just did it completely wrong, and unfortunately not on purpose.
Yeah, but you know why? It's because I watch smart shows.
You know, it's... We can just stop it right here. The funny thing is, I think in a way, so like, you know, my parents knew when I was a kid, my parents knew that I would get very obsessive with stuff that I liked as a kid. So
you had worse hyperfixations than I do.
You really think so?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I was about to say, you at least had the ability to have a variety of different things to get into. Me, I would be so hyperfixated on things that I left very little, if any, room for anything else.
Exactly. You would
like my hyperfixation over SpongeBob, for example, meant that the only thing that would be watched in this house by me is SpongeBob.
Well, I was thinking about your video game obsession that your parents had to beat out of you. Not literally.
Not literally. But they practically, yes.
I loved how we said that in sync. That was so good.
Yes. Yeah, I was much more into video games. And even then, it's like I had an obsession with Star Wars at the time. So it was Star Wars video games. With the exception of some Tom and Jerry game where you just proceed to beat the living crap out of each other. It was basically like
a beat 'em
a beat 'em up game. If you were playing like Street Fighter or Mortal Kombat. Someone listening to this or watching this on YouTube just heard me mention a Tom and Jerry beat 'em up game and died of nostalgia. Nostalgia overdose.
More or less than nostalgia of Code Lyoko.
Oh, yeah, that's true. What happened is when they heard you mention Code Lyoko or they heard me mention Code Lyoko, the opening theme started playing in their heads.
That theme is so good.
That show only has a total of 3 soundtracks.
It gets better.
So you say.
Yes.
So you say. By season 7.
There's no season 7.
I know, I'm kidding. See? Autistic can't get a joke right here. This is why we don't even always have to talk about autism, because our autism just shines through once in a while. And you're proud of it too, I bet.
A little bit.
But, you know, as an adult, I like watch these kids shows. Some people will even like cringe to hear me say kids shows, but
shows for children, animated shows for children.
Yes,
aimed at a child audience.
I tend to criticize these types of shows now. As an adult, I tend to criticize these types of shows through the lens of adulthood.
Yeah. To your own detriment.
Well, yeah, because obviously they will never meet the kinds of expectations that I would have. But again, I must point out the fact that I absolutely love the Spider-Verse movies, and I would say that those were aiming for younger audiences than a lot of the MCU movies, especially the earlier ones.
I would disagree. I'd say they're more family movies, aka they're for all ages.
But it works.
It works. I'm not saying it didn't work. I'm just saying kids were not their primary audience. Their primary audience was Spider-Man fans, and Spider-Man fans are our age and older and younger. So that's why you had Spider-Man Noir. You had Spider-Gwen. Those Spider-Man Noir was I want to say like a 2000s invention. So
that's getting its own show.
I know.
Spider Noir.
Is it gonna be live action or animated?
I think it's live action with Nicolas Cage, which is insane.
Point is, it's like, especially with Across the Spider-Verse, like Spider-Man 2099, that was a 90s invention. So
yeah,
that's for people even older than us. So that's why I'm like, you say it's for kids, I'm like, no, it's for Spider-Man fans.
Right.
There's a big difference.
Right. The Sonic movies, would you say that those were aimed for even younger audiences than the Spider-Verse films?
No, they were aimed for Sonic fans.
Okay. Sonic fans. I was going to make a jab and say, so basically everyone under the age of 12 got it, but no, there's some pretty solid Sonic fans
that are still adults.
That are adults.
Yeah, if you've seen any audience reaction to any point in Sonic 2, most of the audience is adults.
Dang, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
With like maybe a few kids you can hear in the background.
I wonder what our audience will look like when we go see Sonic 3.
I'd say a mixture. I think it was a mixture last time.
Yeah?
Yeah.
So on a good Sunday afternoon. It was a pretty decent sized crowd from what I remember.
I remember when I was working at the daycare that I used to work at, when Sonic 1 first came out, like this dad came to pick up his kid, and I think he was wearing a Knuckles hat, and the kid pulled out a Sonic hat.
Oh, that's cute.
Because they were going to go see it together.
That's cute.
So it's not just parents going with kids. It's adult Sonic fans. It's kids. So again, I think most movies that you may say are aimed towards kids, aside from like Disney, if it's like based off a franchise, it's mostly an older franchise. It's going to be mostly aimed at fans of that franchise.
Okay.
Like even Twisted Metal.
Yeah.
That's aimed for Twisted Metal fans. They're not trying to pull in new people. They're aiming for Twisted Metal fans.
I'm still not entirely sure what the audience of that show was supposed to be.
Twisted Metal fans.
I guess. I don't know. I guess.
Point is, because older stuff that's based off older franchises, you can fit in a lot more references that older fans would get, and that's what people like to go see.
So why do you tend to gravitate towards shows for it was made first for younger audiences?
If the story is good. Yeah.
And that's it?
Yeah.
That's the only qualification?
Yeah.
For me, it's just hard to get past some of the cringe, the really cringy little kid stuff.
Sure, but
that can be tough for me.
Sure. Sometimes you just gotta turn your brain off with that.
The funny thing is, I didn't even like that. So the more little kid stuff in the Clone Wars movie,
right,
like the show matures over time.
So does Code Lyoko. It matures over time.
Does it reach like Clone Wars season 7 levels?
I'd say
no. I'll answer the question for you.
No, I wasn't gonna say that. I was just gonna say I think it reaches some of the best of the Clone Wars. Minus season 7.
Yeah, I was about to say, like the last arc of season 7 is pretty high up there. Got a couple of strong arcs between 4 and 6.
Again, the show was plagued by when I say plagued, I mean it was deep studio interference. Like they had an idea that the studio was like almost fighting with them like half the time that the show was being made. Like again, they couldn't even do story until season 2.
Right. Until then, it's like the first season of Smallville.
Yeah.
Or it's just the same wash, rinse, repeat formula over and over and,
And
over
even
again.
then, when they were still allowed to do story, they were fought. The studio kept fighting them. In fact, the last few episodes never aired on TV because an executive at Cartoon Network hated the show, so he took it off the air out of spite.
Oh. So they didn't like it like me? I don't know.
I don't know. He just did. I don't. They didn't. I didn't know. I didn't read about the reason why the executive hated it. He just did.
Interesting. Yeah, I don't know. I just know that, like...
But again, this was like this. It was the last few episodes, and it was already into the point where it was considered good.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Again, that was a loud motorcycle. Again, I didn't watch it as a kid, so, like, trying to watch it as an adult, again, it just kind of feels like one of those shows where it's like, oh man, it's locked out. Like I can't have access to it anymore. But on the other hand, we've been watching Superman the animated series, and I enjoy it. It doesn't make me cringe. Like I enjoy it. It's fun. It's a pretty good show.
Yeah, you know why? Because it's aimed towards Superman fans. Code Lyoko is a completely original story. It's not based on anything except for the pilot episodes and the student film before that.
Well, be that as it may, like, still enjoyed Batman the Animated Series, and I'm enjoying Superman the Animated Series. Like, those are, I guess you could say, quote-unquote, kids shows, but I can enjoy them. There's a level of enjoyment to them. They're competently written, and they don't make me want to cringe into a black hole of confusion. But, I enjoy those. So I know that it is possible to enjoy shows tailored towards younger audiences as an adult. I guess for me, it's just it just depends on the show ultimately.
Maybe we just need to get to the good stuff.
Maybe we'll see.
Yeah.
We're watching some Buffy the Vampire Slayer first.
Yeah.
There's some fun 90s edgelord stuff to be had.
Oh, you'll love it. It's full of 90s edge.
Fantastic.
A 90s drama. You think Smallville was full of drama. Wait till you see this.
Oh, I'm sure it's jam-packed full of soap opera level drama nonsense. Absolutely.
But it's fun. That's what makes it fun.
Yeah. We're wrapping up we're getting through the last couple episodes of the first season of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., which has a really weird reputation because Joss Whedon was the one who pitched it to Marvel, started the show, directed the first two episodes, first one or two episodes, and will be directing a couple of other episodes later. But then he stopped working on it pretty shortly after he started, and his brother,
because of Age of Ultron.
Partially, yeah. Like Joss Whedon kind of walked away from Marvel after Age of Ultron, ultimately, but even like. Between seasons 1 and 2, Joss Whedon was a producer, but he wasn't like directing and writing every episode. And whenever he wasn't around, it was his brother Jed instead. So that show has a weird reputation of like being started by Joss Whedon and continued by his brother. You know,
I could feel the Buffy vibes in the show. Even then, you could tell that it was that Joss Whedon created it.
Oh yeah, you can tell. Has a sense of humor at the beginning too, easily. Like the very first episode of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. feels like an actual spiritual successor on the small screen for the Avengers.
Yeah.
Like it feels like it's set in the Marvel Cinematic Universe post Avengers.
Yeah, wait till we get to Buffy and you'll get to see all the similarities. I'm sure you'll be able to point to that to a character and be like, that's Simmons.
Yeah, nice. All right, well, we can wrap it up here, but I'm very curious for all of you listening. This episode is a faceless episode because KG doesn't like to show her face.
No.
And that's okay. No one would want to see her right now anyway. She's so tired, her face is melting.
Yep.
So this is a faceless episode just to kind of sit here and talk and have conversation and have a little bit of fun, nothing too serious, be more relaxed. Next week I will return with a face episode where I talk again about autism and marriage on the spectrum. So in the meantime, be sure to subscribe to my Substack at thepancakeking.substack.com. Like this video and subscribe to my YouTube channel, The Pancake King Autism Podcast. And in the description below, you'll see all the places where you can find my social media. And I realize that the way I'm talking right now is a lot the way I talk at my job on the phone. So
That's just your professional voice.
yes. So with that being said, thank you all for listening and kind of watching in this case, and I will see you next week. Bye.
Bye.